Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And it's time for Ask Going in Raw. That's right. We reach out to the friendos on the Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Also, the channel members at youtube.com/Stephen Larson. Just click join. You get access to the questions thread for this episode or for these episodes, for the recap episodes. You also get access to the Big Predictions Challenge, and you get access to our bonus episodes as well.
Yeah.
What's the first question of de jour?
Yeah, I got a lot of LA Knight questions, or at least a couple of them. We'll start with a couple of LA Knight questions. He's kind of the huge name in wrestling these days. It's organic.
Big deal. Big deal.
Talent who's getting over, seemingly with no push behind him. So, Guardian 8 asked this question. Do you think once LA Knight, wins the U.S. Championship, the fire will slowly fade, considering the history of the whole underdog story where a guy is super over once they get the gold? There's nothing to really chase anymore.
No. This is why. He's not an underdog.
No.
He's not an underdog. And so the funny thing is, I have mentioned this on the show. We've talked about the ascent of LA Knight in popularity. His life is it's a hustler life, right? It's a guy who obviously has worked hard to get where he's been. It's taken kind of the long road. He's like 40 years old. As you've said, everywhere he goes, he gets over. And you could sort of see that as an underdog from the business standpoint. He's trying to realize his fullest potential, what we all see, we all want WWE to see. In that regards, in sort of the real life aspect of things, he sort of comes off as a bit of an underdog tale. That's not his character. His character is this bulletproof, arrogant, highly charismatic, highly entertaining bad guy who, I mean, in the same way that The Rock, as a bad guy, would still talk about the millions
and millions
of Rock fans. Exactly. He called himself, and I still think that was somewhat ironic in that he had resentment towards the fans, but he called himself the people's champion. He was forcing that upon the fan base that hated him. Well, LA Knight's a little bit different than that. But still, I think I don't think that there's no need for like an underdog tale here. There's no need for him to have very much adversity. And I'll be honest, I don't know, like just off the top of my head, I'm not entirely 1,000% sure how you book him as champion. If he's a bad guy or even like a tweener, clearly he's going to be taking the title off of a guy nobody likes, Austin Theory. Mm-hmm. And so if that's the type of person, like, for example, I guess maybe, and I'm crossing brands here, but he's the name that came to me first, like Bronson Reed, right? A strong bad guy who could then challenge LA Knight for the title, or maybe you just go down the route, and I'm not sure I would, of just guys who are, big dudes who can fight, like Sheamus. Maybe LA Knight's the kind of character who you can actually sort of fit into any situation. The only thing they have to be careful with is if they want him in programs with pure baby faces that they want the crowd to cheer, that ain't gonna happen.
Nah.
So I feel like he's gonna have to take on other bad guys, and which is a good thing, because typically when you're a baby face, that's where you get into boring territory. It's just They line up one guy after another. The fun thing is just going to be watching him like no sell everybody's promos, all that stuff. I mean, the Bray Wyatt thing was sort of like the ultimate final boss for LA Knight, just first.
Yeah,
he was just there first, right? So yeah, I don't know. What's your take on LA Knight?
I mean, LA Knight is on the trajectory. We say all the time that if someone finds a really good heel character and they're really good at performing that heel character, eventually the crowd will get behind it and appreciate the work. That is inevitable. They will turn babyface. You mentioned The Rock. Rock's just one of several examples of that happening. LA Knight has somehow taken the sometimes years build for that babyface turn. It doesn't matter of months.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much coming out of that Bray Wyatt feud is like everybody was like, oh, this guy's amazing.
Yeah, right.
His complete and utter lack of self-awareness as a character is something unique. Now, when Guardian Ape here mentions underdog, I think when we think underdog, we think something like Daniel Bryan's story, who is from a character standpoint, an underdog, but also in the eyes of the fan within this corporate monolith of WWE, an underdog because it's clear that they don't know exactly what they have with this guy. Becky Lynch was another example of the latter, where she was incredibly over with the fans, but yet it seemed like WWE would never get behind her.
Yeah.
It's a little too soon to tell with LA Knight if that's the case, because LA Knight as a character on main roster has not been on main roster very long. Again, it seems like the first, I don't know, like 3 to 5 years of his main roster career happened with the span of 3 to 5 months.
Right, yeah.
In terms of how he developed that rapport with the fans. So I'm hesitant to put him in the category of, partially Daniel Bryan, Becky Lynch, where he's an underdog in the eyes of the fans because the company's not utilizing him to the fullest. There's also a vast difference in WWE now, in that Vince isn't in charge of things day to day from a creative standpoint. Does he has input? Absolutely. But it's Triple H who's doing the day-to-day creative these days. And so obviously there's probably still going to be examples going forward, even with Triple H in charge, of people the fans really like, that they feel like aren't getting their due from a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
But up to this point, Triple H has earned himself far more the benefit of the doubt in terms of handles creative than Vince maybe ever did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of too soon to tell in terms of how this kind of formula that Guardian Ape is talking about here will actually still be a thing going forward in WWE. And whether that will actually pertain whatsoever to LA Knight's journey within the company. I just don't know. Again, the way his career has gone on the main roster so far, it's been such a whirlwind. It's happened so fast.
It has, yeah.
And so organically. It's really hard to tell. There's been other instances outside of Daniel Bryan and Becky Lynch of wrestlers who have gotten themselves seemingly really over really quick. You got Damien Sandow twice. You got Rusev with the Rusev Day stuff.
Yeah.
And I understand being pessimistic about wrestlers who seemingly get over really quick in their chances long term, because history has dictated to us with Vince in charge that those wrestlers generally don't fare very well long term.
Dude, there is a marked difference with LA Knight, and again, it sort of depends, and we're still, like you said, we're still sort of feeling out exactly what the philosophy is going to be with this weird mix of Vince and Triple H. And I suspect that it's going to be not very consistent. We're not going to, there isn't going to be a shared philosophy, because there seems to be like some push and pull. Like, there will be a script. Vince will say, he'll get out the old red pen and he'll go, nah, move things around. The one thing that you can think, and I am not comparing him to any of these people, because the one big difference is the people I'm about to compare him to were much younger than LA Knight. But if there is one type of character who has basically been bulletproof and has only seen an ascent, it's the kind of characters who in a promo cannot be beat.
Yeah.
John Cena could not be beat once he became the Dr. Thugonomics, he could not be beat on the promo. So he just skyrocketed. The Rock could not be beat in a promo. He skyrocketed. Stone Cold Steve Austin could not be beat. He skyrocketed. People who are bulletproof in the promo area are generally speaking pretty well off. If you can get in there with no matter who else, and you can make them look stupid from your promos, which LA Knight I think has.
Oh yeah. Then special.
Yeah, right. Then you're in a really strong position historically speaking. So, I mean, that being said, I think maybe there's like one exception, and again, might not bode well for LA Knight, but Samoa Joe, when he was on main roster, bulletproof in a promo.
Oh, absolutely.
Vince, and look, he won the U.S. title.
Yeah.
And who knows where he would have been if it wasn't for that concussion, but evidently Vince didn't see enough in him to wait that concussion out. Don't put him on commentary, just put him back in the ring. And then they let him go. Although, Triple H brought him back to NXT. So Triple H really liked him, which could tell you something as well, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you're a bulletproof promo, you have a much better chance than somebody like Austin Theory, who just has a lot of potential and it's been untapped so far.
Yeah, totally. Let's go to our second kind of LA Knight themed question here from Cameron Bortolazzo. says, does Triple H's vision of planned out stories take out the spontaneity of something getting extremely hot like L.A. Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no, because I doubt they have everything planned out.
Yeah.
You know, they obviously there's some story seemingly with Judgment Day. There's some sort of plan, even if it's in vague terms. Like we want tension between Damian Priest and Finn Balor going on for 3 months worth of time.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the extent of the plan. Bloodline stuff seems like there are some overarching ideas they're trying to achieve, if not concrete plans.
Yeah.
Other than that, it actually kind of seems like in a lot of respects, the way they're approaching booking, kind of like, it's not in the same exact way, but you can see some similarities. What NXT UK was doing, what NXT is doing now, where you have these well-defined characters, everybody knows their character, and you have clashes between these characters, and if that's the approach, that seems to be a situation where if someone gets organically over really quickly, you can weave them into whatever you're doing because you have this rich tapestry of characters that you can pit them against pretty easy. Obviously the bloodline stuff that's existing kind of outside a lot of the other storylines currently in WWE. I know that hasn't always been the case, but it's kind of its own thing now. So I mean, assuming that's the philosophy they're taking with some well developed complex characters, I don't necessarily think it's a situation where it's going to be where LA Knight's got himself over so quickly. Well, we can't find anything for him because we have 10 storylines booked out. It doesn't really feel like that right now. I mean, it feels like we just saw Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville win the tag titles, within 2 months of getting together as a team.
Yeah.
And when they put them together as a team, do you think the plan was to put the tag titles on them within 2 months? I highly doubt it. I could be wrong.
No, yeah.
It felt like a situation where they got themselves organically over and it just made sense, and then they did it.
There's been several situations seemingly like that I can sort of point to. It feels like, for example, I'll just give you an example here. It's sort of the inverse of that. I feel like Triple H had big plans for Damage Control, and he didn't quite see them going where they wanted, where he felt they would go, perhaps. And I don't know what metrics he would use for that. If it's crowd reaction, if it's quarterly segments, if it's merch, I don't know. Maybe if it's a conglomeration, or maybe it's just Triple H doing seemingly what Vince did, and that's just sort of going by his gut.
Yeah.
But Damage Control underperformed based off of what their debut as a faction was. Big splash at SummerSlam, seemed like, okay, he's going to roll with them. And, they won the women's tag titles. Bayley never got that women's title. It didn't seem like Damage Control quite lived up to what it seemed like he had wanted them to do, but he didn't force the issue. And I do kind of wonder if with Triple H, there does seem to be a bit more, it seems to be a bit more malleable. Hey, these guys are getting a good reaction. I like what they're doing. Let's go ahead and go with it. And maybe some of it is simply, I like what they're doing. Maybe he just didn't see the chemistry come together the way he wanted it to in Damage Control, and so he didn't make them a bigger deal. He had Bianca. Maybe the idea was, well, I'd prefer to focus on Bianca getting this record, and so unfortunately that means Bayley's going to have to lose a bunch. Regardless, there does seem to be a feeling out process for things before they go hard one way or the other. They seem to really love it. And we've been along with the wave with the Judgment Day stuff. As it became obvious that their chemistry was really good, that Balor really found his character, that Rhea really found her character, the booing Dom stuff, Priest coming into his own, we all saw that along the way. And along the way, they were getting pushed more and more and becoming a more featured, a highlight act on Raw. And so if they had remained stagnant the way they were under Edge or those first months under Balor, perhaps we wouldn't have seen that ascent to become such a featured attraction on Raw. But evidently, there is a bit more of the thing that people complained about with Vince McMahon, which was no finger on the pulse. Triple H seems to kind of understand, okay, this person's working, these people aren't, and so let's push them. And LA Knight, he's working, he's in the United States title scene. It seems clear as day he's going to win that thing. And then they'll just go from there and see if that works. And if it doesn't, I have I kind of feel like they'll just give it some time and then, but not too much time before they reconfigure things.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, just based on what we see on TV, getting back to Chelsea and Sonya, like it's they didn't put them together by chance,
Right.
I'm sure they put them together thinking, okay, there could be something here. And if it works out down the line, we need tag teams in our women's tag division that are actually teams.
Yeah, right.
Not just put together for the convenience of a storyline or a title reign. Let's put them together. You listen to something to wrestle with, and sometimes they're like, well, we thought as a tag team these two competitors would work well together. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then sometimes it doesn't work out. In the case of Chelsea and Sonya, it really did in really short order. They're tag champs now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't take long. And that's the thing about Vince. Vince would either go with something, but only to a certain point, and then like either they would languish or they would be broken up, or he would there were things that should have been obvious that he just wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And it does feel like with Triple H, okay, the character of Sonya kind of makes sense with the character of Chelsea. Let's see if they work well together. They got immediately, there was good chemistry. We saw that immediately. And so it wasn't that long ago. And now they're tag champs.
Yep.
And you have to appreciate that there is, I don't know if it's necessarily a sense of urgency, but there's definitely a sense of, we got to try these things. If they work, let's roll with them. Yeah. And let's not let them linger too long.
Yeah.
All right, Larson, before we get to our next question, what do you say we pay some bills?
Let's do it. Let's take a quick break here, friendos. This episode of Going In Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, I know I've talked about it numerous times here on the show, several times. But there was a period in my mid-20s when, due to a variety of challenges in my life, ranging from my career to my relationships, I started feeling really overwhelmed by life and developed pretty severe anxiety. It got to the point where my path forward wasn't exactly clear, so I turned to therapy so I could stay connected to what I really wanted while trying to navigate my way through life. And while it took me a few tries to find someone I felt comfortable talking to, once I did, I learned the tools I needed to better cope with my anxiety.
And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is entirely online and is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. And all you got to do to get started is fill out a brief online questionnaire. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. You ready for next question?
I am ready.
Next question from Cat Dad 7. Who would you say the former WWE wrestlers that's gone to AEW have had the worst booking? And in Cat Dad 7's estimation here, why is it Keith Lee?
Yeah, I could see it being Keith Lee. I mean, if you look at Swerve, for example, Swerve has been featured a lot more lately.
Yeah.
Malachi's in a good spot right now.
He did once ask for his release, though.
He did. Yeah, he did. But that was then, and this is now.
Yes.
And maybe that can give Keith Lee fans hope that what's happening now or what's happening over the past, I don't know how long he's been in AEW now, a year or so, isn't a static situation. There's a new show. There's Collision, where we've seen that has given more space for a guy like Ricky Starks to breathe.
Yeah.
Jay White, who during the time where he showed up in the short amount of time when he showed up in AEW in Collision, he was sort of not buried, but he was in the shuffle. I'm not going to say lost in the shuffle, but he was in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And now he's an elevated player. He's a featured guy there.
Yeah.
And maybe Keith Lee can break out to that mold. Obviously, they shuffled him around a lot, and I don't necessarily know that that's. I think that's something that they can definitely get him out of, but continually doing tag matches probably isn't the way to go. But
no.
Who knows what's going on, backstage or with him or whatever.
Yeah. No idea. It does seem rather odd that his tag team broke up, him and Swerve, and they've been kind of and this is kind of generous in saying, booking at the fringes of what should be their feud.
Yeah.
And we're, 8 months from their breakup in November, and they have yet to have a single singles match. That is just, in terms of what we know about wrestling storytelling, that's either taking the super scenic route, or that's just completely losing the idea of how to tell a wrestling story.
Well, let me suggest this. I'll just suggest this.
All right.
I guess. Damn, I had a point. I lost it.
It happens.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. Yeah, I don't know what the situation would be. I really don't.
Yeah, I have no
I
idea.
think that not being so. I'll put it this way. Let me put it this way. So like AEW, they will do some oddball things. Like sometimes some of their factions like fall apart too quickly, or they'll just drop storylines and stuff. And the Keith Lee Swerve thing, in my opinion, has been such an oddball situation that they didn't naturally build to a solo match in all this time.
Yeah.
That you have to ask yourself, and I have no idea what it would be. It's such a weird situation that maybe there's some other shit going on that we simply don't know about.
That's entirely possible.
Because it is really weird. It comes
strange.
It comes off as it doesn't even necessarily come off as lazy, because like they approach it, sometimes they get to that.
Yeah.
But
it's not like they forget about it, because it's the subject is broached. They've been in tag matches.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's a sort of situation where it's like, hey, we want to feature Swerve, but we feel like Keith Lee kind of should get the win here, but we don't want Swerve to be taking too many losses, especially in like a big blow off. Yeah.
Swerve does lose a lot of matches though.
Well, I know, but it's like, how long can you do that? He's starting to get a lot more featured now. Like he beat Nick Wayne in his debut. Not a big deal, because Nick Wayne is like a child. And it's like, I know he lost against Tanahashi
and
Orange
Darby
Cassidy, Darby. Are there other places he fights and he wins matches? Does he do that ever? Do they do that with Swerve? I know, but here's the thing. Those are all, I don't know. You don't want one more. or is the philosophy, what's another going to kill him? You know?
No, I mean, I understand. I get your point about, it seems like such an odd move, intentional or otherwise, that you just have to ask yourself why. And again, it's not like it's something that's been completely forgotten, because it's something that's brought up. Again, they'll be in tag matches, they'll be in battle royals together, and they have their moments. But for whatever reason, it seems like they're purposely avoiding having the one-on-one match. We just don't know what that reason is.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at these here. Let's see. Oh, on Rampage, he won that the United Empire tag team match against Chaos.
Yeah.
The Mogul Embassy defeated Chaos at the Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost with Keith Lee as a tag partner, but they're in a never-ending feud.
Yeah.
On Dynamite back in May, he beat Big Bill and Trent Beretta. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I don't know. The whole thing is weird. What do you want? I don't know.
It is strange. It is really strange.
I do think that this in this particular situation, this feud is so weird. Like the Keith Lee element of it is so weird that maybe there's just a piece that's missing. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's in a tag team with Dustin Rhodes, I don't know what that's about either. I don't. You know, and you know, in some situations, maybe it's just not something that we could speculate about, because we don't know. You know,
we don't know. That is true. DJ Fluffy here asks, how would Roman's career have been different if he was the plan B that turned on the Shield all those years ago? We still ended up with the Tribal Chief era. So we wouldn't have ended up with the Tribal Chief era, because without Seth betraying the Shield, I don't believe there is a Tribal Chief.
Yeah, I agree.
And if Roman's creative at the break of the Shield had been not necessarily universally embraced by the WWE Universe, but more or less overall embraced by the WWE Universe, and if his push was a welcome thing by WWE's fans, again, we wouldn't have the Tribal Chief Roman.
Yeah,
because there's like two major traumas in Roman's career. It's the breakup of the Shield and the fans rejecting him when he was getting the babyface push. without those two things, there's no tribal chief era, I don't think. Now, if it would have been possible for Roman to be to some degree, not exactly tribal chief, but a heel, and we've seen some of the talents, the skills he's showcasing now that weren't obviously evident during his babyface push. When he was the instigator of the Shield breakup, that's something else entirely. I don't think we'd get the tribal chief era, but we could have got something really interesting, maybe, if it was him hitting Seth and Ambrose in the back with that chair. But tribal chief, as we know the tribal chief now, no.
Well, I'll counter. I think you're right. For the sake of conversation, though, if Roman is the guy with the chair, now, number one, you're right. It's too big of a difference to know what we would have gotten. I mean, that's an alternate universe that's just so out of whack with what we got. If he's the guy that goes heel, I think it's a success story from the beginning.
Yeah, I think so too.
That being said, if Roman's the bad guy and the crowd really embraces the other two, which they did embrace Ambrose big time, they didn't quite embrace Roman. Because it was kind of obvious what they wanted to do with him. If he's a bad guy and and as a bad guy, he's given the title, he's, all the opportunities, all that stuff he still gets, but it's as sort of a new corporate champion type thing. But in the meantime, Rollins gets all the adulation, and somewhere around, I don't know, 2017, maybe, Rollins, and this is like 2 years after the turn, Rollins finally topples Roman Reigns, the corporate champion. Maybe the bitterness from that moment can then later on inform the tribal chief that we have now. Maybe in a different sequence, those events could have still played out to the degree that, I was the chosen one, but the people chose Seth Rollins as the central thesis of a type of tribal chief character. Obviously, he's informed by the traumas of betrayal, but maybe the betrayal of the fans could have been the thing that informed his trauma now. So there's one way that it could have gone. But, would it have been as potent as it is now? I have no idea, because what's happening now is so informed by the failures of the past that it works so well.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. There's no way to really tell. Next question here from, I think this is Gaio. Apologies if I got the name wrong. Says, is it possible for Jay to beat Roman at SummerSlam, causing Solo to leave Roman turning into an unhinged dominant Roman and winning the title back soon thereafter, before then losing to Cody at Mania, of course?
For Jay to beat Roman gets unhinged, then he wins it back and then loses it to Cody?
Yeah, at Mania.
I don't know. I think that there is a story for Jay to be champion at SummerSlam, but I kind of feel like that story lessens whatever impact is going to happen when the guy, if it's Cody or for some reason maybe Seth, but seemingly at this point Cody's on that trajectory.
I mean, he's got a movie now.
He has a whole movie. I mean, honestly, it should have been, a trilogy. Yeah, film back to back to back. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
The Godfather got a trilogy. Why can't Cody?
I mean, I'm not going to get into it now. Continue, Steve.
So I think it lessens the impact of the guy who actually eventually does it. Because I feel like that guy and this is stupid maybe because it doesn't make sense from a story perspective, but from a business perspective, they want that guy to be the big thing with selling all the merch and shit.
Yes.
And I would be really shocked if they thought that was going to be Jay Uso. For storyline purposes, the idea of Jay beating Roman at SummerSlam and them telling a compelling story of him not being able to handle being a solo champion face of the WWE guy, I think could be really, really compelling. I don't know if fans are ready for that story because it'd just be a whole lot of, well, he's booked weak. It'd be a bunch of that shit. But I think that with the deftness with which they're telling the bloodline story. I think they could tell a really compelling one.
Oh,
But the tropes of pro wrestling is the guy has it until the next guy takes it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd be more inclined to think that Jay has any chance of winning at SummerSlam if he hadn't already pinned Roman. That was Jay's win, is the first person to pin Roman in, what, 3 years?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That was Jay's huge victory. So do I have a whole lot of optimism that he's going to pin Roman at SummerSlam? Absolutely not. Like 2% botch territory. Roman's totally going to win. That's not to say there's not intriguing story yet to be told following that in terms of Jay getting Solo out from under Roman's thumb, and even what kind of role Jay may play in Roman's eventual downfall as champion. We don't know those things.
Yeah.
Yes, from a storyline perspective, more than anybody else, it makes sense for Jay to be the one to dethrone Roman as champion. But they seemingly have Cody earmarked as the guy.
Yeah.
The guy who's going to be the face of the company after Roman's reign ends, whenever that is, whether it's Mania 40, somewhere else down the line. And it's kind of hard to get the thought out of my head that basically anybody else at this juncture is going to be the one to beat Roman, barring injury, of course, you know. Like I can't even Seth I have a hard time conceiving of now because the story makes more sense for Roman to finally get his win over Seth.
Yeah.
In some respects. But you can always have Seth be the one guy that Roman can never beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No.
You know, I mean, I'm looking at Hulk Hogan. I've got the list of WWF champions.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like 1,400 and something other days, right?
Right. So he won it. Obviously, he beat the Iron Sheik for it early '84, right? The guy that took it off of Hogan in a definitive moment wasn't the guy who took it from him in the first place.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, Andre the Giant took it off him. He gave it to DiBiase. Savage got it in the tournament. Hogan got it back from Savage. The guy that took it off Hogan was, of course, the Ultimate Warrior. Now, we all know that didn't last, but the idea was this is the next guy. We're rolling with him. He's the guy, right? And then it just turned out that he was crap.
You know, I wonder what would have happened if Hogan hadn't shot No Holds Barred, which I think is one of, if not the primary reason they took the belt off.
Okay. So, I mean, the precedent, I guess, is there for...
I mean, Stone Cold had the belt for like a matter of months before he lost.
He had like 3 months, and then Kane took it for less than 24 hours, I think. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I understand that they're treating the Undisputed Championship as like, you know, precious, but maybe they shouldn't. You know, maybe you put it on Jay, and then you tell the story of him crumbling, and I don't know, Roman comes back stronger or some shit, you know, and then they can still anoint Cody as the guy in like the ultimate final battle, you know. What did Vince say? What was the tagline for WrestleMania 6? Warrior versus Hogan?
Oh, was it the immovable force versus the
unstoppable object, some shit like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, I think they could still get back around to it. They could still do the thing that we thought they were going to do, you know, at WrestleMania. Roman would alienate Jay and Jimmy so much that they would be responsible for him not winning the title. And maybe Jay wins the title. Maybe he loses it back to Roman because he couldn't handle the pressure, but he figures out that, hey, the title's not the thing for me, but bringing him down is, or at least evening the playing field is.
Yeah. Who knows? Zach the Hack here asked if you could change anything about the G1 tournament format, what would it be? Of course, G1's going on right now. Of course, we got our G1 predictions challenge going on.
Oh yeah,
between now and mid-August.
Huge
great
monthly predictions challenge, which we do every month here at Going In Raw, and you can join that. Not the G1 because it's already underway, but you can get on board the next one, the SummerSlam predictions, by clicking that join button right here on YouTube, youtube.com/Stephen Larson, or by going over to the Patreon and signing up at $5 a month and up. Also get access to our bonus episodes and question threads. One thing I would change about the G1, isn't it like the perfect wrestling tournament, Larson?
It is in a lot of ways. I mean, like the first thing that popped in my head as far as what to change about it would be literally time zones.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking too. You know what I would change? This is what I would change about it. Every day after the G1, they would compile a 1 hour G1 best of special.
That's good.
A 1 hour long recap package narrated by Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton. And it would give us all the highlights and stories from that day of G1 matches.
That's good. Here's one thing I thought of. So, of course, preceding the G1 every year is the huge G1 press conference.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for all the individual wrestlers to showcase who they are as characters.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And like literally this year, Kenta was going around calling everybody ugly.
It was awesome, yeah.
It was wildly entertaining. Now, I don't want to have those on a too regular of a basis to diminish the impact of the initial G1 tournament. I know they do have press conference type things backstage, but usually it's with individual wrestlers, or if they're in a faction, maybe a couple of them.
Yeah, right.
During the tournament, a weekly press conference.
That's good, yeah. How are you doing now? Yeah. How do you plan to turn this around? How do you
Does
plan to
Kenta
keep
still
your lead?
consider everybody else ugly in his block?
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
No, that's good. Yeah.
So through the tournament, you get the wrestlers get more opportunity from a character standpoint to show what this tournament is doing to them, because we have always heard it's grueling. It's round robin is for a month. You got to wrestle. I mean, it's varied through the years, but 6, 7, 8 matches. And then if back when they had only a handful of tournament matches on the card, there was tag team undercard matches with some of the tournament competitors had to be in too. So the continual updates from the talent in terms of how they're faring in a large press conference type presentation, not just press comments backstage, I think would be pretty cool.
People with like ice packs still, yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a phenomenal idea.
More press conferences in New Japan, just kind of overall, because they're usually really entertaining.
They're great.
Disc Golfing Goon here asks, what do you guys make of all the main roster talent showing up on NXT, and do you think this is WWE's way of building them back up as a third brand, or is it test out NXT talents to see how they would fare against main roster people?
What is the reason? I mean, cynically, it's to boost ratings.
Yeah, I think first and foremost to be to boost ratings. Yes,
I would imagine. Let me put it this way: it's to boost ratings. Any other positives are a happy coincidence, or a happy, a good cherry on top.
Happy accident. So
Happy
I'd
accident,
say
yeah.
primary is to boost ratings, but also I think it's a place where people who have been on the main roster who want to try out something new, maybe they don't have a specific role for them, and rather than having them sit around catering or at home, well, let's have them go to NXT, help out with some of the developmental.
Well, that's a different thing. What you're talking about is like a Baron Corbin situation, or like
but in terms of what's the take on main roster talents going to NXT, I think yes, predominantly it's ratings, but I think there's also any other outcomes because of it that could be beneficial for both NXT and main roster talents.
If it's okay, so if we're talking about people who are going down there to serve a period of time in NXT, like Baron Corbin, you're absolutely right. It's hey, this guy ain't doing shit here. Let's send him back down there. He can talk about how all of his gimmicks suck, and he's going to get a new gimmick. That's what Baron Corbin's doing right now. Apollo Crews had I thought a pretty cool run in NXT.
Yeah.
I think that if they're talking about what's the deal with Seth Rollins going there for a day?
Oh, pop ratings. Yeah. That's the only reason that happened. Yeah.
The only reason they're thinking is pop ratings. Now, if in the meantime they mix it up, they chat it up with, the people who were there, and they spread some wisdom. Cool. Right on. That's good. The only reason those members are there is to pop ratings. They saw what Seth did, and they want that now. They want that out for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Mr. Open Challenge. That was months ago. I haven't done that. Challenge accepted.
KM Davis here asks, with Sammy getting worlds apart and Ciampa getting No One Will Survive back, what WB stars would you like to see get their old CFO $ themes back?
Asuka.
The new song is not terrible, but it's obviously a killer tracks rendition of her CFO $sign theme. It's not terrible. It's just not the same thing.
Gargano. I don't want that.
Shayna.
I don't want that. Oh, good one. Now, maybe it's SummerSlam. Maybe it's SummerSlam. Yeah.
Maybe. There's a lot. I mean, CFO $sign actually wrote a lot of really good themes for WWE wrestlers. Like a lot of really good. We just had Baron Corbin get his NXT theme back.
Yep.
So hopefully it'll happen for more wrestlers, because there's a wealth of awesome themes there.
Yeah.
All right, you want to lightning round some questions? Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let me see here. Andrew Samps, what is one match that each you believe is wildly underrated? Put you on the spot. Shawn Michaels, Mankind, Mind Games in your house.
Great. Perfect.
End of an era match. How that's not consistently at the top of at least WWE's greatest matches list is beyond me.
Yeah, that's a good point. That should be like, top 3 best match of all time.
I know. It's usually like in the 20s, and I don't get it.
Yeah, boo.
Clown here says, I got my Friendo care package last week and read the comic Sunday at work. Great job on that, Steve. My question is, the final page of the comic has an ad saying coming 2018. So, Steve, where in the world is my Mecha Santa and Top Notch Comics?
I don't know I think I was definitely considering putting together like a fun / WCW
that rings a bell
comic book, but it never got past like I did that one page for that comic. You are too much today. You need to go lay down. Next question.
Blake Whitehouse, you both get $1 million, but every time you want to eat something after 7 p.m. in whatever time zone you're in, you have to eat an apple fritter first. Do you do it? It's only valid if you both say yes. Yeah, apple fritters are delicious.
Yeah, I love apple fritters. They're great. Yeah. They're awesome.
Yeah. I don't see what the problem is. I'll just time things out, so I try to eat after 7 as little as possible.
Right, yeah.
But if I have to eat some apple fritter before I eat anything else, I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, there are some days when I would prefer to do that.
I know. Ty Moore here asks, what match is so memorable to you that you could play it back in your head start to finish?
Oh, man. I don't know.
My memory is so bad now.
You think about this. I'm going to put her back out.
All right, very well. Bucket Dipper here says, I love listening to the show when I drive home from work. Can each of you pick 3 wrestlers you take a day trip with? 1 driver, 1 aux cord handler, and 1 snack provider. I love you, Friendo. So Steve just came back. Bucket Dipper wants to know 3 wrestlers you'd like to take a day trip with. You need 1 driver, someone to handle the aux cord, so music, and 1 snack provider. Man, oh man. Snack provider's Baron Corbin because
good meats.
Some good meats.
Driver. Who do you think is a good driver? Triple H. He was always the driver for the Click.
Yeah. Yep. Who do you think has really good taste in music?
Oh. Is this only WWE or is this everybody?
Just as 3 wrestlers.
I would probably one of 2 people, Corey Graves or Malachi Black.
All right.
I think Corey probably has really good taste in music.
Maybe.
I thought I read somewhere that he helped put together all the NXT themes, all like whenever they would do takeovers. I remember hearing that he had some input on the music that was chosen. So I kind of suspect Corey knows.
I'm surprised you didn't say Triple H driver and music person, because then you get all your
bro. I can only listen to so much Motorhead, and do you think there'd be some AC/DC thrown in there? Or is he
probably?
Anti? I think there would be, huh?
Yeah. Jonathan Vieira, from 2016 to 2023, would you guys consider those years a single era or more than one?
From when?
2016 to 2023. So like the modern draft era.
Oh, okay. I would consider 2016 to SummerSlam last year. I think from SummerSlam on, it's a new era. I think we're in
Yeah.
the Triple H era, regardless
We are
of
in Triple H's era.
whatever. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I feel like if the status quo remained, then I think the Triple H era is probably going to be its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Deddy here
You know what?
asks.
I'll actually hold on. I'm going to stop. Hold on a second. No. I think that at least with main roster, from like Jinder until SummerSlam, there was the death rattle of Vince era.
Yeah.
Because Jinder was a turning point where shit started going downhill, creatively speaking.
Yeah.
And so from that point until he got taken down, he was out. I think the quality started getting bad, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And Pandemic was almost unwatchable sometimes. And then that stopped when Triple H took over. So I would consider that like whatever, like the fucking dark ages of WWE or whatever. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Worse than the new generation.
Yeah. Modern era obscura.
Oh wow. Deddy here says that people, not necessarily the same people, complaining about both lengthy title reigns and playing hot potato with a belt. What do you think is the sweet spot for a championship reign? I don't think there's really a window where it should be. I think it's whatever best fits the story they're telling. I have no problem with long title reigns like Roman has now because it fits the story they're telling.
Yeah. If Jay won at SummerSlam and then Roman won it back at Payback, boy, people would be pissed. But if in that time, in the 4 weeks between those, if they told some sort of compelling story about Jay and how he really shouldn't be WWE champion, because look, he's one of the top tag team guys of all time.
Oh yeah.
He is connected at the hip to his brother. He should take pride in that. His issue with Roman isn't about the title, it's vengeance, you know?
Yeah. And maybe it's less about Jay is not fit to be world champion. Maybe it's more Jay is not fit. Like, he can't be tribal chief. He can't bring himself to do the things necessary to be tribal chief. Because if you're a member of the the way they've kind of constructed it, their family, if you're top wrestler in that family, you're the head of the table. You're the tribal chief.
Yeah.
And with that comes a load of responsibilities on top of being champion.
Yeah. Jay has already said, I don't want to be tribal chief. You know, he clearly is traumatized over the past because of the last 3 years. And what Roman is saying, it's not just about being champion. There's so much else that goes with it. That's what Paul Heyman told Cody Rhodes. There's so much else that goes with it. And maybe that's not Jay's thing. And there's a story that could be told there. I don't know I don't know if fans will be happy about it though. That's a ballsy story right there to tell.
It would be. Dink Meme Center. Well, I think if you lean more on the tribal chief aspect of it, and you know, Roman says like I twisted my morals to help this family.
Yeah.
And Jay's put in a position now where as tribal chief, he feels like he has to twist his own morals now as he kind of rediscovered them.
Right. Yeah.
Is he willing to do that as champion?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that way maybe you get away from, we have to book Jey Uso as potentially weak champion. It's more like, okay, well, he's got this conflict with him.
Yeah.
Dank Meme Center here says, what's your top 3 favorite WWE superstar entrances from the Ruthless Aggression era? Oh, it's Batista. The music kicks in. He does the thing with all the fireworks going off.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's great.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Dr. Thugonomics. That shit was pretty cool. That song was pretty rad.
I know it's not Ruthless Aggression, but I missed the Triple H one, the My Time one, where he had the light under him.
Oh, yeah,
that was rotating.
Good. That was really good, yeah.
And he was uplit. I missed that one, even though it was really long.
Eddie's Lowrider.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
Let's see here. All right, DJ Mott, fill in the blanks in this sentence. Austin Theory is currently blank, but in 5 years he will be blank.
Buried in main event.
Austin Theory is currently in WWE. In 5 years he will be in AEW.
Good.
Royal Kong, we can end on this one. Power rank, who do you think are the front runners to win the Rumble as of right now? So give me 3 for the men and give me 3 for the women.
Oh, the Rumble? Okay. Cody?
Yeah.
Seth?
Okay.
Gunther?
I was going to say Cody, obviously, for the men's Rumble. Gunther, because between him setting the record for longest Intercontinental title reign and the Rumble, he may drop it, and they may have him win the Rumble to go after whoever is the World Heavyweight Champion at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea Ripley. Now, on the women's side of things, for the women's Rumble, who do you got winning that? 3 names, please.
Bianca?
Uh-huh.
Becky?
Yeah.
Charlotte?
Yeah, I can't disagree. Well, I see Bianca. I can see Becky. Charlotte might be walking in. I mean, if they're going to do Charlotte Bianca Mania, it could be Charlotte walking into Mania as champion.
How about this?
Hmm.
Bianca? Becky?
Yeah.
Jade Cargill?
Now that'd be something.
Hey.
That would be great.
Yep.
All
Any
right,
other questions?
That's that.
All right.
No. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.